A flying wing is a tailless fixed-wing aircraft that has no definite fuselage, with its crew, payload, fuel, and equipment housed inside the main wing structure. A flying wing may have various small protuberances such as pods. Similar aircraft designs that are not technically flying wings are sometimes casually referred to as such. These types include blended wing-body aircraft and lifting body aircraft, which have a fuselage and no definite wings. Nacelles, blisters, booms, or vertical stabilizers. Similar aircraft designs that are not technically flying wings are sometimes casually referred to as such. These types include blended wing-body aircraft and lifting body aircraft, which have a fuselage and no definite wings. A pure flying wing is theoretically the lowest drag design configuration for a fixed-wing aircraft. However, because it lacks conventional stabilizing surfaces and the associated control surfaces, in its purest form the flying wing suffers from being unstable and difficult to control. A pure flying wing is theoretically the lowest drag design configuration for a fixed-wing aircraft. However, because it lacks conventional stabilizing surfaces and the associated control surfaces, in its purest form the flying wing suffers from being unstable and difficult to control. The basic flying wing configuration became an object of significant study during the 1920s, often in conjunction with other tailless designs. In the Second World War, both Nazi Germany and the Allies made advances in developing flying wings. Military interest in the flying wing waned during the 1950s with the development of supersonic aircraft, but was renewed in the 1980s due to their potential for stealth technology. This approach eventually led to the Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. There has been continual interest in using it in the large transport roles for cargo or passengers. Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, and Armstrong Whitworth have undertaken design studies on flying wing airliners. However, no such airliners have yet been built. The flying wing concept is mostly suited to subsonic aircraft. No supersonic flying wing has ever been built. A wing that is made deep enough to contain the pilot, engines, fuel, undercarriage, and other necessary equipment will have an increased frontal area when compared with a conventional wing and long thin fuselage. This can actually result in higher drag and thus lower efficiency than a conventional design. Typically, the solution adopted in this case is to keep the wing reasonably thin, and the aircraft is then fitted with an assortment of blisters, pods, nacelles, fins, and so forth to accommodate all the needs of a practical aircraft. The problem becomes more acute at supersonic speeds, where the drag of a thick wing rises sharply and it is essential for the wing to be made thin. No supersonic flying wing has ever been built. For any aircraft to fly without constant correction, it must have directional stability in yaw. Flying wings lack anywhere to attach an efficient vertical stabilizer or fin. Any fin must attach directly onto the rear part of the wing, giving a small moment arm from the aerodynamic center, which in turn means that the fin is inefficient, and to be effective the fin area must be large. Such a large fin has weight and drag penalties and can negate the advantages of the flying wing. The problem can be minimized by increasing the wing sweepback and placing twin fins outboard near the tips, as for example in a low aspect ratio delta wing. But given the corresponding reduction in efficiency, many flying wings have gentler sweepback and consequently have, at best, marginal stability. The aspect ratio of a swept wing, as seen in the direction of the airflow, depends on the yaw angle relative to the airflow. Yaw increases the aspect ratio of the leading wing and reduces that of the trailing one. With sufficient sweepback, differential induced drag resulting from the tip vortices and crossflow is sufficient to naturally realign the aircraft. A complementary approach uses twist or washout, reducing the angle of attack towards the wingtips, together with a swept-back wing planform. The Dunn D.5 incorporated this principle, and its designer J. W. Dunn published it in 1913. The washout reduces lift at the tips to create a bell-shaped distribution curve across the span, described by Ludwig Prandtl in 1933, and this can be used to optimize weight and drag for a given amount of lift. Another solution is to angle or crank the wing tip sections downward with significant anhedral, increasing the area at the rear of the aircraft when viewed from the side. When combined with sweepback and washout, it can resolve another problem. With a conventional elliptical lift distribution, the downgoing elevon or taileron causes increased induced drag that causes the aircraft to yaw out of the turn, adverse yaw. Washout angles the net aerodynamic vector, lift plus drag, forwards as the angle of attack reduces and, in the extreme, this can create a net forward thrust. The restoration of outer lift by the elevon creates a slight induced thrust for the rear, outer, section of the wing during the turn. This vector essentially pulls the trailing wing forward to cause proverse yaw, creating a naturally coordinated turn. In his 1913 lecture to the Aeronautical Society of Great Britain, Dunn described the effect as tangential gain. The existence of proverse yaw was not proved until NASA flew its Prandtl detailless demonstrator. In some flying wing designs, any stabilizing fins and associated control rudders would be too far forward to have much effect, thus alternative means for yaw control are sometimes provided. One solution to the control problem is differential drag. The drag near one wingtip is artificially increased, causing the aircraft to yaw in the direction of that wing. Split ailerons, the top surface moves up while the lower surface moves down. Splitting the aileron on one side induces yaw by creating a differential air brake effect. Spoilers, a spoiler surface in the upper wing skin is raised to disrupt the airflow and increase drag. This effect is generally accompanied by a loss of lift, which must be compensated for either by the pilot or by design features that automatically compensate. Spoilerons, an upper surface spoiler that also acts to reduce lift, equivalent to deflecting an aileron upwards, so causing the aircraft to bank in the direction of the turn. The angle of roll causes the wing lift to act in the direction of turn, reducing the amount of drag required to turn the aircraft's longitudinal axis. A consequence of the differential drag method is that if the aircraft maneuvers frequently, then it will frequently create drag. So flying wings are at their best when cruising in still air. In turbulent air or when changing course, the aircraft may be less efficient than a conventional design. Some related aircraft that are not strictly flying wings have been described as such. Some types, such as the Northrop Flying Wing, NX-216H, still have a tail stabilizer mounted on tailbones, although they lack a fuselage. Many hang gliders and microlight aircraft are tailless. Although sometimes referred to as flying wings, these types carry the pilot and engine where fitted, below the wing structure rather than inside it, and so are not true flying wings. An aircraft of sharply swept delta planform and deep center section represents a borderline case between flying wing, blended wing body, and/or lifting body configurations.